Hey guys, Jeff here with Passive Income Unlocked, and this is update number 3 for the No Stone Unturned case study. So we have a few months under our belt now. I do have some information to share. Some of it's pretty interesting. Before I jump into that, let me bring up the number of posts that we published for last month. So as you can see, we did publish a little bit more in January, so close to 60 posts. We are not trying to publish more and more month over month. It's just more a timing thing with when we got the articles back from the writing service. So we're trying to publish 40 to 50 posts, and that's going to start to level out as you kind of see that going forward. So now to jump into something a little bit more interesting. In the previous couple videos, I mentioned that we weren't having any issues with indexing, and when I showed you the coverage report, you could see that it was going up nice and consistently along with how often we were publishing. So I'm going to bring up that same report for January. So what we're looking at here, we're looking at the green bars. Those are the posts that are being indexed. And it's kind of hard to see here, but what's going on is kind of going up consistently, like I said, but then it starts to level off, and then it starts to actually decline again, and then it starts to level off again. And that's kind of coinciding with the gray bars there that are going up and up and up. So those gray bars are pages that are not being indexed. Those are excluded pages. I can tell you right now, we do not have close to 1,000 pages on our site. And when you look at that, what you'll see, or what we see, as those are URLs with query parameters in them. So basically like a URL with a query parameter would typically be something you'd see like on an e-commerce site where you have like a product page where you might have like a red shirt, blue shirt, green shirt, and instead of creating a new page for each of those, you're going to see a question mark in the URL, and it'll change based on the color you select. That's a query parameter, and that's what you're seeing there. But of course, we don't have an e-commerce site, and those URLs are being generated by a plugin called WordFence, which is used for security in WordPress. So to take a step back on why we're using this plugin, basically what happened was early on in the site, I happened to notice that this one person or one visitor from the same location kept visiting our site over and over and over again over the span of about a week. They were going to every page on the site. They were spending a ton of time on each page, and I was seeing all this in analytics. They were visiting the homepage over and over and over again on the same day, like several days in a row. They check it over and over and over for updates to see if we published any new content. I mean, I'm making an assumption there. And they kept going into one particular post early on. So that post that they were going into, what I ended up doing was I waited a few days, searched for that keyword in Google search just to see if anything came up. This was a low competition keyword with literally zero competition, just forums. So what do I find is on page 3 or 4, there's a site ranking for that keyword. Exact same title as us. I open it up. The content is rewritten. They didn't steal our content, but they clearly got all the information from our article, which was the only article on this particular topic. And of course, now they are ranking number 1 for this particular keyword. So I kind of figured out what was going on there. There's somebody that saw us as a, easy target. They probably see we have zero authority, brand new site. We're targeting some keywords that have no competition, so they're just going to go after them. So I'm like, I got to figure out what's going on with this. It's going to, not have a good effect on the case study, obviously, if somebody's stealing all our keywords. So what I did was I turned on this feature in the WordFence plugin called live logging. And what that does is it captures the IP address of people visiting your site. So once I captured the IP address of this particular visitor, figured out what block of IPs they would be in, and then I went to our host, which is rocket.net, and I said, can you block this range of IP addresses? Which they did, and then you would think problem solved. Sure enough, they try to visit the site again, and they can't get in. They just get a page saying that you've been blocked. So that you would think that'd be great, but then you go and look at the coverage reports in Search Console, and then you see all these excluded URLs, and it just keeps going up and up and up every few days. And then that's when I started to look into it and figured out that that live logging feature was what was generating all these URLs. It's basically using this query parameter feature to identify when a visitor is visiting your site or whatever. Then I did some research on that and found out this is a very common problem with this particular plugin. No real good solutions out there. WordFence, they just basically say that it's something with your theme, being developed incorrectly or something like that. And that's the problem. Go to your theme developer and have them look into it. So of course we just, said, whatever, we'll just disable the plugin, and that's what we did. So I think what's going on here as far as indexing in our case is that Google is crawling all these URLs that aren't actual pages, and because they're spending, they're crawling all these pages or all these URLs, they're not crawling our actual posts as often. So that's probably what's going on. It's just a theory. But we'll see what happens. With a new site, Google's only going to crawl it so often, so many times and whatnot. And that's, as you post more and more content, and they trust your site more, they'll crawl it more and more often. But we're not at that point quite yet. I don't think this is going to hurt our site long term. Just a small hiccup. I think we probably resolved the issue, and probably going forward, we will see this improve. Even since I took that screenshot and shot this video, I have seen that Google is indexing our newer posts, so I don't think we have a major problem here, but just something to be aware of. Two things. I mean, people do try to steal keywords. They try to steal content. It's always good to watch your analytics, especially early on a site like that. And two, just be aware of that particular feature in WordFence. Just know that it might cause what we're seeing here. URL parameters are not an issue by any means. They are being excluded. They're not being indexed. Although I take that back. There are some of those pages that are being indexed for whatever reason, but they're not supposed to be indexed. And they shouldn't cause a problem on an existing site that already has a lot of traffic, but on a new site, you might run into an issue like this where it's just kind of eating into the crawl budget. So, all right, next, let's jump into the traffic. I'm going to bring up a screenshot here. This is from Search Console. These are the total impressions for the life of the site. So we published the first batch of articles. I think it was like 10 articles on November 7th, I believe it was. You can see there that there's a big spike in traffic and impression, not in traffic, but in impressions. Then it kind of drops back down to where it should be, and then has been gradually going up since then, which is looking really, really good. When doing a little bit of research, I found that initial burst in impressions there, what was happening was Google was ranking us for a business name that was unrelated to us, but was somewhat similar. So for whatever reason, Google thought that we were related to this business. They ranked us kind of high for a little bit, figured out that it was unrelated, then they dropped us back down. So I think that's all that was. The other thing I'll point out on that screenshot there shows that we have 54 total clicks, not a whole lot. But I'm going to show you in a second that that's actually only a small fraction of our total clicks over to the site so far. So let me bring up that next. So this is a screenshot from Google Analytics. These are organic search sessions by month for the site so far. And as you can see, it's going up really nicely. In the month of January, we had 263 sessions. So that's pretty good. And I'm going to show you in a second why we're really happy with that number. But just to point out, like I said, we only had 54 clicks over the 3 months from Google. So as you can imagine, all these other clicks are coming from other search engines. So mostly Bing, Yahoo, and some from like DuckDuckGo, Dogpile, and some other ones like that. So what we're excited about is that when we look at our other sites, our existing sites, to see like what percentage of our traffic comes from those search engines versus our total traffic, it's only like 4 or 5%. So if you can just kind of do the math and you're looking, okay, 4 or 5% of our traffic on our existing sites comes from Yahoo, Bing, DuckDuckGo, and Dogpile, and all those search engines, and that's where we're getting most of our traffic now. Once Google catches up and starts ranking us higher in the SERPs, we should be getting a lot of traffic for the number of articles that we have. So this is a really, really good sign. And Google does lag behind these other search engines as far as how quickly they rank a new site. So they're a lot more cautious. They don't have that data yet, so they're not going to trust your site quite as quickly as some of these other search engines. And of course, this is what people refer to as sandboxing. So last screenshot I'm going to bring up here. So this is why we're so excited about seeing that number of 263 sessions or whatever. And I think I might have the number wrong there in the screenshot. But anyways, as you can see, I've got sites 3 through 6 here. So sites 3 through 5, the reason I left off sites 1 and 2, by the way, we didn't really know what we were doing yet on those sites. So I figured I'll just do sites 3, 4, 5, and 6 because that's when we kind of had a system in place. As you can see, by month 3, we weren't even getting 50 sessions per month yet. Whereas on the new site, we already had over 100 sessions in month 2 and over 200 in month 3. And of course, in February here, we're already off to a great start as well. As you look into month 6 on those first 3 sites, sites 3, 4, and 5, you can see they still weren't bringing a lot of traffic in. Sites 3 and 4 were hitting like 50,000 sessions within the year mark, just to give you an idea. So that's how quickly the traffic can take off. We're seeing that growth a little bit quicker on this site. And we did post a similar amount of content on those older sites as well. We pumped a lot of content into all 3 of those other sites early on. And not only that, with those 3 sites, we were only targeting low competition keywords, whereas with site number 6 here, the case study site, the whole point is we're covering topics thoroughly, which means about half of our content that we're publishing is targeting keywords that are medium to high competition. So keywords that we really have no business ranking for as part of this case study. So really, we're only, if we have 150 posts, probably about 75 of them are targeting these low competition keywords, yet we have way more traffic than we did on our other sites, which were targeting only low competition keywords. So it appears that we're on to something here. We're definitely excited about what we're seeing here. We'll see where we go from here. It appears that whether it's just, trying to grow that topical authority through internal linking or just publishing all this content on the same topics or whatever, something seems to be working. Still too early to say for sure, obviously, but we definitely like what we're seeing. So guys, that's all I have for this one. I'll post another update probably in about a month or so, so keep an eye out for that. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.